let's do this. This is going to be a full-on deep dive into the whole event drama. We're going to talk about what it is, who's invited, content creators, who's not invited, why they're not invited. We're then going to look at what is the event, so what will it actually be, and then from there the question is, what does this actually mean for Squadron's release? Because depending on a multiple levels of different things, this could be the start of a marketing campaign, it could be the end. This could also be a soft way to delay this into 2027 quite deep. We don't know at this stage. Let me begin by telling you what happened to me. So I saw this on Reddit. I think I saw that the people were getting an invite. I looked in my inbox and I didn't have an invite. And so I thought, you know, that kind of makes sense. I'm not a very big, like, my assumption would be this would be for the big guys, and this would be for people maybe, I kind of thought maybe this would be an event for external people. So it wouldn't be for SC creators really. It would more be, you'd get maybe you'd invite some big Twitch streamers, whatever, YouTubers. You might invite Digital Foundry maybe, if you're feeling brave, or you might invite, it would be a press event. You might get your Luke Stevens type people who they regularly go to these events, come back and give us their thoughts. That was my assumption. I then checked my spam and I did have an invite. So I do have an invite, and I RSVP'd, and I am going to go. So I went through a bit of a journey. I was like, I'm not invited. And then I was like, oh, okay, I can live with that. It kind of makes sense. But then actually, so I processed not going, and then I am invited. So in the spam, yeah. So I RSVP'd, and I will go, and my plan will be, everybody's like, oh, everybody's going to be a shill. And I will be I promise you that I will be as open and honest as I possibly can be, especially from a performance point of view. I'll be obviously coming at it from a performance angle. That's the YouTube channel stuff. And if the game is running awfully and has terrible hitches and everything, I will tell you. So let us go. Exactly. We are going. So it is not. Oh, there we go. I will tell you as much. And also the plan will be to stream. The question is what we can show. Will we be able to capture gameplay? Will we be able to stream from it? Will we be able to stream after it, before it? I'll try and do as much as possible to bring you into the event as much as they allow us. This is, if you've missed all this, this is what's come up. You're invited to join us for an exclusive 3-day event at our Manchester studio. I've highlighted some of the bits that are probably more important because some of this stuff is interesting. It's at the studio. It's not at the convention center, which is right next to the studio. So that tells us something about the scale of the event. So we'll dive straight into this. This is a CitizenCon 2025. They had a load of CIG devs in the room. This is the biggest room at the studio. So I did a studio tour. I'll show you that in a second. This is by far the biggest space. And so really, if this is a 3-day event at the Manchester studio, they can only invite as many people as will fit in this room.
And then when you come over here, got a nice little...
So this is the Horizon bar they've made into their kind of canteen coffee area.
Creation area. There's some sim pits over there for people who need to test that kind of stuff. All right. So yeah, and
so you can see, I mean, we probably could count it, but there's some benches down the back there, and then there's a load of tables here. And then you can see there's another space down the bottom here, but it isn't a large area. And so if they're holding it here, unless they've expanded the studio since the last time I was there at CitizenCon 2024, that is their biggest space. And so in terms of who is getting invited, in terms of how many people are getting invited, they have to either all fit in that space or be rotated through that space. So it's possible different groups. 3 days is quite a long time. I'm not sure whether, for me being there, I'll be sat in the studio for 3 days, or whether I'll have certain time slots where I get to go in. We'll have to see. We don't actually really have many details. This is a controversial line. For those who held the line, it feels only fitting that you're among the first to experience what comes next. I guess the thing is, like, lots of people held the line. Lots of people held the line. And so why are the people who've been invited being invited? We'll get to that in a second. Throughout the weekend, you'll have the opportunity to spend time with the development team, tour our Manchester studio, and participate in the first hands-on experience with Squadron. So this tells us a few things. There's not going to be anything else before this with Squadron. They're not going to be at Gamescom with a demo to play on the floor or anything like that. It doesn't mean that they won't show stuff before this, but this will be the first time anybody plays it, probably. Kind of important here, travel and accommodation are at your own expense. So, of the list of people who have been invited, say you're coming from America, it's going to be a expensive trip. Anybody who's not basically in the UK is coughing up a lot of money. And so this list of people may get filtered down. So already we said Croncy, I think somebody was saying, actually no, it was on the podcast yesterday, we were talking about, he won't go because obviously it's a long way, it costs money, but it's also his daughter's birthday, so he won't go. Of the people here, I don't know how many will come. And so what they've said is, if you don't RSVP, your invitation will be offered to another member of the community. So it's possible that some people who haven't had invites will actually get invites in the future. It's possible there'll be another wave of invites after June the 29th, where there'll be more things. What's interesting here, though, is that they say it'll be another member of the community. And it is worth saying, the whole hoo-ha is like, why isn't this just open to backers? And I think as somebody put in the chat there, this isn't a backer event, this is a marketing event. But it's not just, it's a bit of a weird hybrid. So there's lots of posts like this on Spectrum and Reddit, whatever. Another exclusive club that only a handful are selected. Again, CIG didn't learn from the exclusive voting club that excluded original Kickstarter backers. They're again making a presentation for hand-picked people to be part of a preview or exclusive Squadron release. My general thought is like, this isn't just for random people who've backed a long time or spent loads of money or play loads. It is generally a marketing thing, but it's not just a marketing thing. Somebody I know got an invite. They're not a streamer or content creator. They are an OG backer and live in the UK, in the EU. Yeah, heard from someone else with similar status. Seems like this probably sums it up best. Seems like they have a limited slot. They have limited slots and have to be realistic about likelihood of attendance as well as publicity. But they're trying to get a balance of OGs and content creators. It seems as though they're trying to get a few maybe original backers from really early on. They're maybe going to invite a few of those, combined with I think the majority of people that we've heard about are content creators. Yeah, the non-content creator invites are there to placate the masses, potentially. You find this entire issue completely overblown. I would agree. I think if you say this is a marketing event, then you're like, well, it kind of makes sense that they've invited the people with a little bit of reach. The argument might be that some people's reach is quite small, including my own, really. Like, if I came out this event and made a video, how many views is that going to get? Maybe if it did really well, maybe 20,000 views. And most of those will be SC backers already. So, I don't know. There's a question of who else is invited that we'll get to in this section. As in, will proper media outlets be there? And will bigger creators be there that aren't SC creators? We'll get to that in a minute. But let's get into the fun bit of this. This is going to be fun. Prepare yourselves here. This is going to get spicy, and I'm going to go in on some stuff. You might be saying, is this just for shills? Yes, people. We started saying this a minute ago. CIG only invited people who won't say anything critical. And like I said before, on this list, there are people who you might describe as very, very positive and unlikely to say anything negative. However, there are also people on this list who I think will be very prepared to say the game's rubbish if the game is rubbish. Like I said, Morphologist has had his moments of being very critical about the project and the direction. I don't think if the game is bad, his reputation as a large YouTuber, not just Star Citizen stuff, he is very unlikely to lie if he thinks the game is awful. I just think that's very unlikely. Also, like we said, we think Zero State is going to be very fair and balanced based on what I've seen from him on podcasts. I think that's very fair to say that I can't see that he would. I just don't think this list is full of people who are only going to say yes. And like I said myself, if the game is hitching all over the place, if there's significant stutter and performance problems, I will be able to eyeball it if the frame rate is dropping seriously badly. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to say, yeah, Spoon is pretty balanced. Yeah, Expat, Loken for sure will be constructively borderline brutal critic. Yeah, okay, so Loken, another example of somebody who might just tell the truth. The thing that they've not done is they've not invited anybody here who's like makes their content around hating the game. Let's put it like that. There's a couple of people in this list over here maybe would be on that. They would be on that. But everybody on here, I think, is genuinely for the game, wants the game to do well. There's no like complete haters in this list. But to say that these are all shills, they're just going to say exactly what CIG wants to say, I think is unfair to all of these creators, because there's a load of people on here who I'm sure will be fair enough. You had invited Level Cap, Luke Stevens, Asmongold. Well, Asmongold is a bit of a brand risk potentially, but yes, I wouldn't be surprised if Level Cap is invited. I wouldn't be surprised if Luke Stevens is invited, because Luke Stevens does cover the project, and pretty critically. Level Cap would make sense because he obviously has done the Citizen Con streams with Salty Mike, so he's very much invited. I would imagine he'd be invited. From the list of people that are out, you need to talk about Astropub. That was a shame. Yeah, we're going to talk about the people who are not invited and why they're not invited, and the thread, because there is a thread between. You might be thinking, like I said, oh, they're all just positive people, but on the list of people who aren't invited, there are positive people. Like we said, Foxy Loxy, generally positive about the game, recently got a bit fed up, but generally he is, but there's reasons why he's not been invited. Astropub, again, Astropub is like a critical part of the project in some ways, in terms of a lore point of view. He's done so much heavy lifting for the lore side of the game, massively important. He's not invited for a reason. Super Mac Brother, again, very positive, like super positive about the game from what I can see. Not invited, and he explains why. Here is the list of people who I know haven't been invited. Foxy Loxy, generally very, very positive about the game. The funny thing is here, somebody asked him, did you get an invitation from CIG? I'm far too small a YouTuber to get invited, but that's not true. I mean, I've got the stats here. He's got 30,000 YouTube subscribers. In Star Citizen terms, he's a big deal. Lots of views, pumps out videos. Again, somebody asked, did you get an invite? I did not. He hasn't got he isn't invited because he's too small, and he's not invited because he made one recent video saying the state of the game was bad and blah blah blah. He's not been invited because he's repeatedly crossed the line. He is the dupe king in his own words, and so he's shown some duping stuff. He's kind of shown some borderline exploiting stuff. He recently also he had a video with the first time anybody doing TSG in Evocati, he put a whole video up with the audio and music from his playthrough in Evocati. That completely breaks the Evocati NDA. Completely breaks it. He's done leaked stuff in the past. Like Foxy Loxy has not been invited because he made one critical video about the game. He has, unfortunately for him, or maybe the thing that maybe is fair to say with some of these, they've made an active choice that this is what they want to do. That's fine. He may have just decided, well, I'm going to just do this content because this is interesting to me. I don't care what happens. He's not been invited because there's an invisible line with CIG for everybody, content creating wise at least. You don't know where that line is. You don't know when they're going to suddenly say, oh, you've done too much there, we're not going to work with you anymore. But he has been skirting the line with some of his content continuously. And so it is not CIG punishing him for being critical in one video, because if that was the case, half the people on this list would not be covered. There's no way it's as simple as he made one bad video where he said, the game is, I'm not happy about the direction of the game or whatever. Breaking the Evocati NDA is a crazy move. Maybe he was unaware, but audio is part of the NDA. Is part of the NDA agreement. You can't do it. So Foxy Loxy, you can't be like, oh, he made one critical video and he's out. He's made multiple videos doing things that CIG, I'm sure, look at and are like, oh, not sure I love that. We're not sure I love that. Astropub, next example. So somebody said, this is what I saw. I'm appalled to find out they blacklisted you as a creator over this, as if you haven't been a paragon of the project for at least a decade, and as if they aren't an open development company. CIG, we love you, but what the F? Just be honest and communicative. We aren't dumb. So he hasn't had an invite. I'll show you what he said about it on stream yesterday, I think. He recently made, he in some ways, he took one for the team big time. He made this video talking about Squadron 42 developers who had basically, he'd reached out to them, found out what's going on. He effectively leaked a load of like stuff from the company. And so why is he not there? It's not because he's not positive, or not because he's not big. He's a big deal. He does tons of really amazing videos. He's very positive generally about the project, but can be critical, which is fair. But he basically leaked a ton of like what I'm assuming the developers thought were confidential conversations that they were having with him, and he basically just threw it all out there and said, Squadron's been late to 2027. A load of people have told me. I've spoken to a load of people. And so if you're like, why is CIG not giving him an invite? It's because he did that. I mean, I'm not sure. He may have made the point. He may have decided, I don't care if this breaks down my relationship with CIG. He may have just said, I don't care. This information needs to be out there. I need to tell people that Squadron's not coming this year. I just need to do it. But the consequences of doing that are that they've basically been like, no, we're not going to work with you. You're saying something wrong, honestly. He didn't leak because they never told him not to tell stuff. He didn't sign a contract with those people. Let me consider what you're saying. I think it's fair to assume that if a CIG dev tells you something about the inner workings of the company, that is not meant to be shared on a YouTube video. That would be my guess. Well, yeah, it's the fault of the devs who told him that he was meant to share it. The devs who shared it with him were working on the assumption that I have this relationship with you, I can trust you not to say this. The fact that he then basically chucked them all under the bus and said all the stuff, he's screwed those devs over to a certain extent. But they and there is a risk, I suppose, when any dev working at the company shares stuff with the YouTuber. But I mean, to say that he's not under a contract with those guys, and therefore he was okay to share that. Well, we can judge it like this. Whether you agree with that or not, CIG have judged this move to be not okay because he says this. Let me say this. Let's do this. This is what he said on the stream last night. I think the audio should be on for this. This is going to be controversial. There's going to be people here who you're like, I love these guys. I'm really upset they haven't got a thing. Let me put it out there. I'm not here to judge anybody individually. They've all made choices for all different reasons. I mean, Super Matt Brother explains his choice underneath. I've been on Astropub's charity stream a couple of times. I've done a podcast, a little thing with him before. I think he is great. He's genuinely a very good content creator. He's great for the project in general. But in this scenario, I wouldn't have done what he did there. He might be running on a completely different... He has his priorities, what he's trying to do. I personally wouldn't have made this move. This is what Astropub said yesterday.
Oh, Paul, did you get one of the CIG invites that was primarily, or is that primarily European-based creators? No, there's American-based creators. No, CIG and I aren't seeing eye to eye anymore. At least their marketing team. So no, I am not going to get invited or any sort of perks from CIG going forward, unless they change their mind, which I hope they do at some point. Apparently, people were like, we're going on Twitter and being like, why isn't Paul getting an invite? I'm like, guys, thanks for going to bat for me, but that's just, the way CIG is, the pettiness of CIG.
I'm not sure I'd I don't think I agree with it being petty. I think he crossed the line with them. Like I said, you don't necessarily know where the line is. Like CIG hold that line themselves. We don't know where that line is, but he clearly, I think fairly obviously crossed the line in terms of sharing that information. And so he won't get an invite. It's again, he may say this is fine, it's calculated, I know what I'm doing, this is the direction I want to go with the channel. I don't mind being on the outside of the thing with CIG. Like you can obviously continue to make content about the game while CIG don't want you as part of their content creator list or whatever. As in Mike would be the big example of that. One of the most successful, kind of best probably content creators for the game is completely on the outside in terms of the marketing stuff. He's got relationships with developers, and I suppose Astropov does. You can make videos about this game whilst being on the outside, and so maybe Astropov just said that's fine. Let's go to Mike. So Salty Mike, he made a video saying another exclusive club, which I think is probably not the angle I would put this on. That doesn't actually necessarily that doesn't really represent what his drive is in this video. He basically is explaining how in the past he's had these opportunities, they were great for him. Obviously, yeah, he's now on the outside, and for anybody going, this has been going to be a great experience. But if you're not invited, don't worry about it. That would be it. Now, the reason Salty Mike, so some of you might be like, well, they're just not inviting critical people like this person. This person on Reddit is saying Salty Mike should be invited to the Squadron 42 event, and here's why. If Squadron 42 is as good as you say it is, invite the critical creators, prove them wrong. It's not just Mike and all the others too. I'm not here to glaze this guy, but he wants SC to be the best it can be, and it's critical because of the choices you've made. He says if he says Squadron 42 is good and he glazes it after seeing it, that's one hell of a win, guys. Just think about it. So again, Salty Mike is not being invited. I'm not even sure that's the right way to put it. It's not because he's critical. This isn't because he's critical of the project. He is critical of the project, but like this person says, I am a Salty Mike enjoyer at points. I watch a fair amount of his content, some of his streams as well. I don't agree with a lot of the things he says about the game, but what you can't say is that he doesn't want the best for the game. He cares maybe more than anybody about the game. The thing I think where sometimes it goes slightly off rails is that he is very kind of he's got his idea about what the game is going to do and what he'd like the game to be, and I think sometimes he struggles to maybe understand other people's point of view in terms of why they might want it from a different angle. But he is very passionate about the game. Like I said, he is an excellent content creator for the game. He's up in the top tier. He's doing this as his job. They've not invited him because he's critical. They've not invited him because he, a little bit like these guys, at points will cross the line from being critical. He sometimes goes too far. The way I would put it would be like this. You know, at the end of episode 3, when Darth Vader's I think he's in the suit, right? And he says, "Where's Padme?" And Palpatine basically says, "In your anger, you killed her." Which obviously he does choke out Padme whilst he's angry about Obi-Wan being there. And so, at points I think this is probably fair, and I think Mike may agree with this if he was to see this. At points in his anger and frustration about the game, I think he would go too far. He'd go past the line. So he would go past the line in terms of his criticism. Sometimes it might might call some devs an idiot or stupid or whatever. Or at various points, he has crossed the line from being very critical to going too far. And so quite a while back, his relationship with CIG's marketing team broke down. Again, we don't know exactly where that line is. There is the line here. We don't know where the line is to cross exactly because CIG hold that power. But my guess would be that a while back, CIG were just like, he flies close to the sun anyway with his content being quite critical. But then at points, it's just too much. And they're just like, we cannot have this guy officially part of what is going on. Go too far. It's 15 years and $1 billion. Horror to anyone who says anything bad. You're not hearing what I'm saying. I'm not saying him being critical about the project is a problem. Like I said, this group of people, there's a load of people in there who are going to be critical. If Squadron is rubbish, a load of these people will be honest and say it's rubbish. It isn't about Salty Mike. This instance isn't about him being critical about the game and saying he does a great job. He's like a counterpoint to the company in some ways, Mike is, in that he is very happy to be brutally honest, completely critical, point out the rubbish of the game. He's needed, I think, for the project as a counter voice from the more positive voices. He's absolutely crucial to the project. However, as somebody who CIG are going to work with, it's not about him being critical. I think it's about the points when he's just gone a little bit too far or gone too far. I think he even says something about this, about that in this video. He talks about something on Twitter with the marketing team. He says it was too far. It isn't about him saying bad things about the game. I can list off for you now 10 things about the game that are awful. And we have been since 4.8 come out. Everybody has been saying the game's awful. They need to sort it out. It's not just about critical. It's about when these creators have gone past this line that CIG has, and they're just like, we're not going to do anything with you anymore. Mike is more than merely critical. Can be harsh and brutal in his critique. Most of the other creators critique, but try to be nice about it. Soften about it. Yeah, whether it's a cultural thing, I don't know. He can be incredibly brutal. And that is probably why he's been really successful. He is a voice for people who follow this project for 15 years and they're like, what on earth's going on? It's a disgrace. The game is not going the right direction. I hate this piece of thing they've done. It's awful. He's a voice for people who are deeply, deeply frustrated with the state of the game. And therefore, he's an important voice, I think, in the community. It doesn't mean you all have to go and watch him. But him being a critic doesn't mean that isn't why he's not being invited to this event. It's more nuanced than that. You must be a bit diplomatic. I think at points, Mike has basically said, screw being diplomatic, here's what I really think. And I think that has just, at points, probably pushed him past CIG's line where they're just like, we can't work with this guy. What I would say is, I bet you if CIG had the power, he's like, if you were to log on UK time onto Twitch, whatever, he's the biggest creator in the English language. I bet you if CIG could flick a switch, they wouldn't want that to be the case. I bet CIG would be somewhat upset that the person that you're most likely to, if you're new to the game, find on Twitch in the UK daytime or whatever, is quite angry about the state of the game and very critical. I bet if CIG could change that, they would. But credit to Mike, what he's doing is he is speaking to a bunch of people who are equally frustrated to him. It's not like he's a voice yelling into an empty void and there's nobody with him. A lot of people are with him. They agree with what he's saying. And I would agree with some of the stuff he said, for sure. Yeah. I've got a lot of respect for him as a content creator. But, like I said, I think he has a habit of going over the line in the moments of pure anger. I think it can go too far. CIG can't control his message with gifts, so he wasn't even... What sort of rubbish? You're not listening to what I'm saying. They're not... It's nothing to do with... Oh, my goodness. You think all these people are just going to... CIG is going to give them a goodie bag, and then they're just all going to say exactly what CIG want them to say. I think you're not giving these guys any credit whatsoever. The list of people who are invited, if you're saying Salty Mike was the only person who was going to go to the event and be honest, I think you're being unfair to the rest of the people who've been invited. I think Mike is the only one who could be critical and mean if need be to their face. Now that's a fair point. That maybe is a good thing to say. I'll read it again. I think Mike is the only one who'd be critical and mean if need be to their face. So if he was at the event, say they allowed us to stream, and he thought the game was awful, on stream with a dev standing right behind him, he might be one of only a few who would just be like, this is terrible. What have you been, you guys are idiots, what have you been doing? He might, that's fair. It might be the people who are going might be more, they might not have the guts to, in front of a dev at the event, say, this is terrible. They might be polite in the moment whilst the dev was sitting over their shoulder watching them play the game. They'll be like, yeah, I'm enjoying myself. And then they might get off camera. They might then go back to their hotel room, record something, and be like, guys, it was terrible. Mike might be the one of the only people who would be like in the room. Chris Roberts standing on one side, Jared standing on the other. He might be one of the only people who might be like, what have you guys been doing for 14 years? This is a disgrace. You've wasted all our money. This is terrible. He might be the only one who might have the guts to do that. Oh, dear me. So I don't know about Tomato. He's been out of. He's not been at home over the weekend, and I have not messaged him, so I don't know. I would assume Space Tomato would be invited. Tirada CR Tirada had a recent falling out, I think, with CIG around. I don't really know what the drama was about. Let's look at Super Mac Brother next. So we've talked about why these guys haven't been. There's a common thread. Basically, my argument here is all of these guys at various points have tipped over the line, the invisible line of CIG's trust, and CIG have been like, nope, we're not inviting you. And hard to know. Super Mac though does know exactly what he did and why he's not invited. He is a super positive creator, very big creator, makes lots of YouTube videos, lots of subscribers. Again, my argument here is it's not just about being critical, because of this list of people that haven't been invited, a fair few of them are very positive about the game. For the most part, yeah. You like his videos. Yeah, seems like a decent man, likes content, off-grid stuff, yeah. Nice, okay. So, let's watch. This is what he said. This is what he said about why he won't get involved, hasn't had an invite.
Oh, streamers to play Squadron. Wow, that's cool. Yeah, I don't think they'll invite me because, you know, when I was doing leaks, they told me to stop. When I was selling from Impound,
So when I was doing leaks, they told me to stop. When I was doing Impound,
they asked me to stop. They can't support, you know, with free ship giveaways. And for me, the income is more important than a ship giveaway being, you know, the main bread bringer of the house. So I highly doubt that. But to be honest, I think I would rather wait for a release and play it as like a no spoilery kind of thing.
So he's basically saying, so he's covered leaks in the past. He currently, the Impound is on his starting stream. So the guys who watch him, I guess he is affiliated with the Impound. So that's like a grey market selling thing. So he's basically saying CIG asked him to stop doing leaks and the Impound stuff. And he basically said, I'm going to continue to do that because of it's making me, I need the money, effectively sort of saying, which is fair and valid. So he made an active decision to basically say, I'm going to work outside of the CIG content creator group thingy where they give free ships. So he, again, in CIG's mind, he's crossed over a line. They've asked him to come back over the line. He said, actually, no, I'm going to carry on. And therefore, when it comes to this sort of thing, well, again, they're just not going to invite him because he's fully aware of why. Again, he's made a decision of that may be the right decision for him and for his family, for his work setup. And we shouldn't judge the decision to do that. But for a load of you guys who watch him, I'm assuming you might have thought, well, I would have thought he would go. I would have thought he'd be going. But I think it's fairly obvious why he hasn't. He said, put it in his own words there. So yeah, interesting that CIG had a word with him about the Impound. Yeah, Ollie43. Yeah, so I guess we'll talk about this quickly. The obvious thing is that, well, Ollie has made a load of. Ollie43 has just been hired by CIG, is affiliated with the Impound, but he got hired. The difference might be that CIG asked Super Mac Brother to stop this, and he said, I'm going to carry on. The difference might be that they might have asked Ollie to stop doing the Impound, and he went, oh yeah, okay. If you don't want me to do that, I'll stop. I don't know. How do we know? How are we going to know? But yeah, and the Impound, the problem that Ollie's got is that he's recorded an ad for them on the Impound's YouTube channel, and so that I guess the Impound have the ability to just keep that going and use him, which is a bit of a blow for CIG in some ways, that one of their staff is going to be all over something that they I mean, the fact that CIG, if anybody wanted proof that CIG are not fans of the third party selling and grey market, the fact that he's confirming here that they've asked him to stop tells you what CIG think about things like the Impound. So yeah. Right, now a couple of other people. I don't watch much Cameral stuff. I'm aware of Cameral. It seems as though he's generally fairly unhappy with the game. Is that fair to say? I don't know, but he's put a thing here. He's not been invited. I think the way I might look, I don't know if he's necessarily done anything terrible that's crossed over this invisible line that we keep talking about. I don't know what he's done, but I think there is a general category of people, maybe both of these would come under that. I don't know if it's fair to group these together, but it's if this is like a wedding for CIG, this is like their big event, their big thing, their big celebration, they're not going to like people, they're not going to invite guests to that who generally don't like the game or are very like very critical all the time. I I don't want to say that that is what Camera Raw's content is about. I only occasionally will see bits. I couldn't possibly comment on what his overall stuff is. So I don't want to, if he was to watch this, I wouldn't want to, I don't want to slam the guy. I don't know anything. I don't really know. But this one, however, I'm happy to absolutely go in on this because this is ridiculous. I don't know if I should show you this. It might kill the stuff. I'll show you. This is, maybe this is not the right way to do this. Maybe we shouldn't even give this guy the airtime. But if you're wondering why some people, if you're wondering about crossing the line, I'm saying, well, occasionally Mike might cross the line. That maybe is why he hasn't got a thing. This guy, I think, probably just lives on the other side of the line. Oh, dear me. The thing is, I just don't understand spending your life making videos about a game that you hate. It just seems such a bad way to spend your life. Anyway, let me show you this, and you can see why this guy will never, ever... I don't even know if CIG would go further with this. Let's just watch the opening of this video, and you'll know why this is not going to happen.
Oh, it's in weekends when Spectrum is at its best, especially because Ryder is hiding in some, gas station, waiting in some to have a little bit of fun with some dirty trucker. Well, the rest of us watch this thing and say, there you go.
So, there you go. If you ever wondered why he is not going to get an invite, he's living way over the line, personally insulting devs or employees of CIG. It's just honestly, that's kind of just a bit disgusting, really. But he seems to have forgotten that people are people, and they are. I know Night Rider is a bit of a meme or whatever, and I know that a lot of people would be upset with him, not like the way he moderates and stuff, whatever. But to treat him. To speak about him like that when he's probably got kids in a family, it's like the line. You can easily say that he's way past the line there, and so yeah, like him or not, he's doing his job. Yes, we could do a thing about Knight Rider, blah blah blah. Still, you can't speak to people. You can't speak to people like that. So your gem reviews, you're gone, and yeah, it's just ridiculous. Where you look at Mike and say Mike he can be very constructive and give genuinely really helpful, very critical feedback. I think over there with Gem, it's like there's just give up and go away. I think is probably the short. And maybe it's not fair to even have had him listed with the rest of these guys. Like these guys are not even. I don't think Camera is anywhere near like that level of kind of mean and horrible. So yeah, anyway, is Grumpy Eye invited? I would assume Grumpy Eye is not invited. You can speak like that about people but not expect to be invited to their home afterwards. Well, that is one way to put it. Yeah, at the end of the day, all the employees at CIG are real people. They've got their lives going on, they've got families, they got kids, whatever, and to talk about them like that on the internet I think is not really very fair or cool, or it's kind of a bit disgusting. So goodbye to him. You think Asmongold was invited? Well, there is a question about there's a question about somebody like Asmongold and bigger creators. We'll get onto in a second. There is a question about brand risk and like brand safety, as in the people that CIG associate with can be a risk to them, or they can help them. I think Asmongold, if they were to invite Asmongold into this group, which is possible, they've invited bigger people, he comes with a ton of baggage, like political stuff, and so you would say that Asmongold isn't a brand safe person, and by even inviting him, you are opening yourself up to a ton of risk that CIG, I don't think as a company, will want to do. My argument here is this isn't just about people who will say yes and who are shills. There are genuine reasons, I think, why most of the people that you're like, why didn't they get invited? I think there's reasons that CIG will have not invited most of the people that you're thinking about, and some of these people have given reasons why. And then there's some people who maybe, like we said, the gem reviews thing, where they live so far past the line that there were in a billion years there was no way they were going to get. Say if everybody pulled out, So this is the thing that I said at the start of this. They said if people don't respond, or maybe they say no, we're not going to come, they'll offer it to another member of the community. Well, somebody like Gem Reviews is not going to, even if nobody else comes, they're clearly not going to come. I don't know about Forrester. This isn't an exclusive. This isn't like a this list of people who we think are invited isn't. This is just what you guys have said. I don't know. There could well be other people who we just don't know. Anyway, let's get on to actually what it is, and then we will cover what does this actually mean for a release, which is probably the most interesting thing, because all of this is all just actually a sign that Squadron is actually happening in some way. So the question is, what is this event? Is it a marketing or community event? We've kind of answered that. There are community people just being invited, but I think in general, this is a marketing thing. It's for reach. It's not just we're being kind to the community, so here's a nice event for the community because you supported us for so long. Oh, how lovely are we? Let's just have a nice get together. It isn't that. I'm fairly convinced that the great thrust of it is, that's a strange thing to say, great thrust. I'll stick with it. The great thrust of this event is marketing. That's why they've invited content creators. The real question is, will proper media outlets be there? So, will we have IGN? Is it this sort of event? Will it have, who else? Will it have other big, will it have Luke Stevens? You certainly hope not IGN. They paid IGN, or maybe they didn't pay IGN. They had an agreement. IGN posted the previous Squadron prologue on their own channel. So they have some relationship with IGN. Digital Foundry, I would be interested because Alex Battaglia, is that right? Foundry. He likes Star Citizen and he's very much into the performance stuff and tech side of things. From a technical point of view, obviously the game's going to have ray tracing. The engine is something of a marvel in some ways, like the scale of it, no loading screens. And so you'd think, it's not Derry, is it? Dree. You'd think Digital Foundry might be interested in having a look at it. I mean, that's media outlets. There's a case to say, will they do big content creators as well? So somebody was saying like Shroud, like would Shroud come? Like Shroud has been super critical about Star Citizen in the past. I don't know. Don't think it's necessarily in his. Somebody said Xylo really likes Shroud, so I don't know. But I mean, S-Fan tried the thing out. He tried the game out. I think. Would you try and get him there? I don't know. Rock paper shotgun. Yeah. Shroud would not. He does not like traveling. Okay, so Shroud won't be there. Summit. Yeah, Summit's played SC a fair amount. Bert Black is again another big one who actually plays Star Citizen, so you'd think he'd be one to get involved. We don't know what this event is, but there's a chance that, as well as all of us tiny little Star Citizen content creators, there's a chance there's also some of the big ones. These guys, you'd assume CIG would have to fly out themselves and pay for hotels. There's no way they're paying for their own stuff to come and look at it. Skill Up and Game Ranks don't let game companies pay for them. Okay, yeah, and that's a fair point. A load of these people actually wouldn't. To keep journalistic integrity, they wouldn't accept payment and they wouldn't accept being put up in a hotel. But the question is, would they bother going to see Squadron 42? Jack Frags was actually the YouTuber that introduced me to SE. There you go. And that, to be fair, you prove the concept of this event. That's okay. Let me pause the chat a second. Joe's just said Jack Frags was actually the YouTuber who introduced me to SE, and that explains what this is all about. This event, assuming again they invite bigger creators as well as just the little Star Citizen ones. This event is purely, if you care about the success of Squadron 42, you're not sitting there going, oh, this event, why haven't they just invited normal people to this event? This event is so that Squadron succeeds. They want that story again. They want somebody to watch a Jack Frags video and say, that looks cool. I'll buy that. They want to advertise the game. It is a marketing event. Again, we don't know exactly. We'll find out soon who is actually going to go. But even if they don't do it here, CIG at some point will try to get the game into the hands of all these different people. And so this is all marketing. Even if you don't care about Squadron 42, you care about this event going well, and you care about Squadron going well because you want CIG to succeed, and you want them to finish the silly game that we actually care about, Star Citizen. You want them to get to 1.0. So if you're sitting there thinking, this is annoying, blah, 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 you shouldn't. Change your mindset. You want the game to go well so that Star Citizen could actually turn into a proper game. Justify how it's a marketing event. All the content creators are tiny and already. The ones that we know of are tiny, but they're not tiny though. I mean, Morphologist isn't tiny. Morphologist can get over 1 million views. Space Tomato put out some videos, not on Star Citizen, but actually on No Man's Sky that got pretty close to 1 million views, I think. Maybe they've gone over that point. As in, there's some people within there who are not tiny. But your question is relevant, is that when we come to we'll do this in a minute, when we come to like, what is this event and what's the purpose? It could be, if none of these guys are invited, if they don't invite the big guys, you then start to think, is this a marketing push? Or is it maybe a soft delay? And we don't know about that. We will get to that. We'll get to that in a second. You don't care about Squadron 42 anymore. You want to focus on SC. But for them to focus on SC, we need to get this all done. And they need to make some of the money. They need to make some money from Squadron. If Squadron comes out and sells less than 1 million copies, it's not good for Star Citizen. They are linked. The projects are very obviously, completely linked at the hip. And as a backer of Star Citizen, you don't want Squadron to fail. You just don't. You want it to be done. You want it to be. Say you don't care about Squadron at all. You want it out the way, but you do want it to succeed so that Star Citizen can keep going and could go upwards. If Squadron bombs, is terrible, gets hammered by everybody who plays it when it comes out, that isn't good for the long term. If you care about the long term future of SC, you want Squadron to do well. At this event, will we be capturing gameplay? So will we be able to take along some sort of capture stuff? Will we be able to actually record what we're playing and share it? And that again is the question. Is it, if we're not, then you might say, well, actually then it maybe becomes more of a community event. If this is marketing, you'd assume we're not signing a massive NDA and we are capturing gameplay and we're able to make YouTube videos out of it, and we're able to basically spread the word as far and wide as possible that Squadron is a real game. And what CIG are hoping is we all say it's really good. We quite like this. The cinematics are amazing. The cast is great. I enjoyed the gameplay, blah, blah, blah. That's what CIG would be hoping. Whether that actually is true. My question is, will we be able to stream from it? Will we be able to go in and literally stream directly from the floor? I'm doubtful about this one. I think CIG will want a level of control. But for me, if I can possibly stream, so I streamed from CitizenCon a few years ago. If I can possibly give you as much inside access as possible, I will. And even if they say, no, you can't stream, I think what my plan would be, well, I'll take a load of stream stuff, and then as soon as each day is finished, I might try and grab a load of people and give you a summary from the day from a load of people. My plan will be to try and give you as much possible info as possible. It could be something like this. So you'll have seen these thoughts. This is actually from Battlefield 5 a long time ago, but you'll have seen videos like this. This is just, I think, a French person back at Battlefield 5. These sorts of events where they get a load of people in a room, they set up a load of PCs, and everybody is playing the game. This is, in my head, is what they're doing. The question will be, how many PCs can they set up in their office? Because they're not going to just let everybody roam their offices. They were very tight last time with where you could go and everything. It would be something like that, I would have thought. My guess would be. Okay, then let's then get into the real fun part of this. What does this actually mean for Squadron 42's release? I don't know if about you. I was thinking it's over. Once Summer Games Fest, nothing happened. I was like, I don't see a pathway for them to release this year. And maybe there still is no pathway for them to release this year. But I was kind of shocked that suddenly we got a sign of life. There was a proof of life that Squadron 42 is making some sort of progress. And so what does this mean for the release? Here are my 3 options. Maybe I'm missing one. Option 1. This is the start of a marketing campaign. So release is 3 to 6 months after this. So CIG have said, critically, we don't plan on a long drawn out, this could have changed, but the last thing they said, we don't plan on a long drawn out marketing campaign as we've already done our share of trailers, gameplay previews. When it's time, you and the rest of the gaming world will hear a lot more from us. So we don't think they're going to do a long marketing campaign. So I don't think this means we do this and then there's a year's worth of marketing. We're assuming 3 to 6 months. So this could, in theory, be the kickoff for a big marketing campaign. And then release might come, the earliest it could come, if you're a nutter, is December 26th. This is highly, highly risky. GTA still looms very large at this point. But the window there, 3 to 6 months, also pops into March 27th. The problem that CIG has got is doing this event on October the 9th to the 11th. GTA's marketing is in full swing at this point, and so does anybody outside of Star Citizen community even hear that this happens? That's one risk. And so maybe this is not a marketing event because it will just get buried by GTA stuff anyway. Anyway, that's option one. Option two, in my mind, is this is the end of a marketing campaign. Release is imminent. It's happening right now. And so this event is like the last thing, and then they release it in October, which I think was what a lot of people thought might happen. They thought an October release to try and sneak in before GTA could be a possibility, but high risk. And I guess if this is to happen, but again, if we are to release at in October itself, and this event is at the end of the marketing campaign, well, we would have to be expecting some actual marketing to happen, like in the lead up to this. So soon. This is, I guess, this is the Gamescom argument, is that at Gamescom they kick off something, and then from there they market until October. Option three. Here's when you were like, when those of you earlier were like, you're a shill. Everybody going as a shill. I'm going to prove I'm not a shill. I think this might be the most likely. No. This is a definite possibility. This is a way to delay the game, but prove that it's real and playable. But the release is pushed deep into 27. And so the timeline from, I've messed this up. The event is here, and then that is basically delayed way more into 2027, maybe Q2 or second half of 27. But they have an event where they get a load of positive people. If you're going to be the most kind of cynical, they get a load of positive people who care about the game to come and play it. You say, I played it, it's real, it's fun. But CIG say, but it's not quite ready yet. It's not. We know we said 26, but it's not 26. And so it's possible that this is actually a delay. It's possible. Let's poll this up. I don't think there's an obvious option for, so I say, which is most likely in your opinion? Right, the poll has ended because I've just clicked end. Option 3 has narrowly won from option 2, but option 1 isn't that far behind. So there is not consensus between us. We are all feeling different things. We will know soon.